right, let's do this. Today we are diving deep into atomic habits.
Awesome.
And, yeah, you want to know all about habits, right?
Yeah, how to build them. Really make them stick.
Yeah, especially
Look
the good
bigger.
ones.
Yeah.
Like the craving kale, like pizza thing.
Oh, yeah. That's the dream.
So I was looking through the chapter, and it starts off with this really interesting story about this guy, Laszlo Polgar.
Okay.
And he was a chess master, right?
Yeah.
But, like, his thing was that he was going to raise his daughters to be chess prodigies.
Oh, wow.
And, like, he did...
Succeeded.
Yeah, it's crazy. But what's really interesting to me is how he did it.
Yeah.
Through habits.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
very meticulously crafted habits. It seems like he basically engineered this chess habit for them, like surrounding them with the game from a very young age.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating because it wasn't just about chess. He was trying to prove that talent isn't just something you're born with. It's something you can develop through the right habits.
I love that. So how does this tie into the science of habit formation?
So the chapter uses this really cool analogy. It talks about Niko Tinbergen, a scientist who studied seagulls.
Okay.
And he noticed that baby seagulls instinctively peck at a red dot on their parents' beaks to trigger feeding. But when he introduced these fake beaks with even bigger, brighter red dots, the baby seagulls went nuts.
Really?
Oh, yeah, they were way more into the fake beaks than the real ones.
That's so interesting.
Right, so it's not just about the cue itself, but like the intensity of the cue.
So it's not the red dot, it's how red the dot is.
Exactly, and that's where this idea of supernormal stimuli comes in. They're like these exaggerated versions of normal stimuli that just hijack our brains.
And they're everywhere now, right? Like junk food, social media.
Oh, everywhere. It's like our brains are constantly bombarded with these things that are so much more stimulating than anything our ancestors ever had to deal with.
So basically my brain is treating pizza like it's like essential for survival or something.
Pretty much. And it all comes down to the dopamine-driven feedback loop.
Right, right. So remind me how that works again.
Okay, so when we experience something pleasurable, our brains release dopamine.
Yeah.
And that makes us feel good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it motivates us to do it again. But here's the thing. Dopamine isn't just released during the reward itself.
Oh.
It's also released in anticipation of the reward.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting.
Right. It's like the craving itself is rewarding.
I'd have thought of it that way.
And that's why it's so hard to resist things like pizza. It triggers this huge surge of dopamine before you even take a bite.
So, knowing all this, how do we make healthy things like kale seem just as appealing? Atomic Habits has some tips, right?
It does. One of the things it talks about is this idea of temptation bundling.
Okay, I like where this is going.
So it's basically linking an action you want to do with an action you need to do.
Okay.
Like there's this great example in the book of this guy, Ronan Byrne, who loves watching Netflix but also needs to exercise more.
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard of this guy.
Yeah, so he hacked his stationary bike to only play Netflix when he was pedaling at a certain speed.
That is so smart.
It is. He basically turned his workout into a Netflix watching session.
And it worked.
Totally. And it's because of this thing called the Premack principle.
What's that?
It's basically the idea that more probable behaviors, like watching Netflix, will reinforce less probable behaviors, like exercising.
So you're more likely to do the thing you don't want to do if it means you get to do the thing you do want to do.
Exactly. And, this isn't just for individuals. Businesses use this all the time.
Oh, I bet they do.
Yeah. Like, think about when ABC launched that TGIT lineup with all those Shonda Rhimes shows.
Oh, yeah, with all the drama.
Yeah, exactly. They encourage people to create this whole ritual around it.
Like the wine and popcorn thing.
Right. Popcorn, red wine, watching with friends. They basically made it a whole experience.
Wow, I never realized they were using this temptation bundling thing.
They totally were, and you can use it for all sorts of things.
So if I want to, like, read more, I could say only let myself have a piece of chocolate after I finish a chapter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if you want to drink more water, you could only let yourself listen to your favorite podcast while you're drinking it.
Ooh, I like that one.
It's about getting creative and finding what works for you.
I am already thinking of so many possibilities.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about finding those little things that make the things you have to do more enjoyable.
Right, right.
And speaking of that, Atomic Habits also talks about this thing called habit stacking.
Habit stacking. What's that?
It's pretty simple, actually. You take a habit you already do regularly and stack a new habit on top of it.
Okay.
So say you want to express more gratitude, right?
Yeah.
You could stack that onto your morning coffee routine.
So, like, after I pour my coffee, I'll write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Something like that.
Exactly. You're basically like piggybacking on the neural pathways that are already there.
Makes sense. So, like, it's easier for the new habit to stick because it's connected to something you already do automatically.
Yeah, exactly. And you can use it for anything, really. Like, say you want to read more, but never seem to find the time.
Oh, tell me about it.
You could stack it onto your lunch break.
After I finish eating, I'll read for 15 minutes.
Exactly. Or, going back to that kale thing.
Oh, right, the kale.
You could stack a healthy eating habit onto brushing your teeth.
After I brush my teeth at night, I'll prep a kale salad for tomorrow.
Boom. You got it. It's about finding those strategic moments where you can just, slip the new habit in.
This is great. It's like we're building a whole habit-forming toolkit.
Totally. And Atomic Habits is all about making your habits obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
So walk me through that a bit. Like, what does that actually look like in, real life?
Okay. So making it obvious could be something as simple as, setting up visual reminders. If you want to drink more water, you could put a big water bottle right on your desk so you can't miss it.
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind, as they say.
Right. Making it attractive, we already talked about temptation bundling. Making it easy could be breaking down a big goal into smaller, more manageable steps.
Right. Makes sense. And what about satisfying? That seems pretty key, especially when we're talking about, resisting temptation and actually craving those healthy things.
Oh, for sure. That's where the dopamine comes back in. We got to make healthy habits feel rewarding,
Yeah, yeah. But, how?
One way is to focus on the immediate benefits. Instead of thinking about the long-term health benefits of eating kale, maybe you focus on how good it makes you feel right now.
Like the energy boost.
Exactly. Or how clear your skin looks. You can also, celebrate those little wins along the way.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Don't wait till you've hit some huge goal to reward yourself. Celebrate that you stuck to your workout routine for a week, or that you chose the kale salad over pizza.
Little victories.
Exactly. It keeps you motivated.
This is giving me so many ideas.
Yeah.
I'm ready to start putting this all into practice. But before we wrap up, I'm still kind of hung up on this whole supernormal stimuli thing. How does that play out in the real world?
Well, think about it. We're constantly surrounded by things that are designed to, grab our attention and trigger those dopamine hits.
All the time.
Yeah. And it's not just, junk food and social media. It's everything. The news, advertising, even our phones are designed to be addictive.
That's kind of scary.
It can be. And all this exposure to these supernormal stimuli, it can actually make it harder to find pleasure in the simpler things,
How so?
If you're used to the constant stimulation of, say, scrolling through TikTok, sitting down to read a book might suddenly feel, super boring.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's our tolerance for, normal stimuli gets lowered.
Wow, that's a really good point.
And that can have a huge impact on our well-being,
Yeah, so it's not about, demonizing technology or anything. It's just about being aware of it, right?
Exactly. And making conscious choices about how we engage with it.
Okay, so back to my kale and pizza dilemma. How can I use this whole supernormal stimuli thing to my advantage?
Well, one thing you could try is to, denormalize those unhealthy temptations.
Yeah. So, make them less appealing.
Yeah. If you're constantly surrounded by junk food, try to make it less visible. Put it away in a cupboard or something.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. And at the same time, you can try to make healthy options more appealing. Experiment with different kale recipes, Find ways to make it taste good.
Yeah, dress it up a bit.
Right. Or even create a little ritual around eating it. Set a nice table, light some candles, maybe even enjoy it with a friend.
So basically, I got to make kale my new supernormal stimulus.
You got it. It's about hacking your brain,
Yeah.
Making those healthy choices feel just as rewarding, if not more so, than the unhealthy ones.
This has been really interesting, I feel like I actually get it now, this whole habit thing.
It's great.
And it's not just about me changing my own habits, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about, the bigger picture, how this all plays out in society with all these, supernormal stimuli everywhere.
Sure.
It makes you think about how we could, create environments that help people build healthy habits instead of always tempting them with the supersized versions of everything.
It's a huge question.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not about getting rid of all the fun stuff. Right?
No, of course not.
It's more about being aware of how it's all designed.
No.
And, what the impact can be.
Like you were saying before, finding that balance.
Exactly. And it all starts with just being aware of it.
Right.
Once you know how it all works, then you can start making more conscious choices.
Okay, so to wrap things up for our listener,
Yeah.
what's the big takeaway here? The one thing they should remember from all this?
I think the most important thing is that we're not stuck with the habits we have. We can change them.
Okay.
It might take some time and effort and some experimenting to figure out what works.
Yeah.
But if you understand how habits work, you can make even the tough ones, irresistible.
I love that. So it's not about willpower.
No?
It's about, like, strategy.
Yeah.
Understanding how your brain works.
And remember, even small changes can make a huge difference over time. So don't get discouraged if you don't see results right away. Just keep practicing, keep trying new things, and celebrate those little wins.
That's such good advice.
Yeah.
This has been awesome. Really eye-opening.
Glad to hear it.
I feel like I'm walking away with a whole new set of tools to, finally make kale my new pizza.
Maybe you'll start a trend.
That's the goal. Thanks for joining us on this habit transformation journey.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.